Well, hi folks, another 10-day roundup, and at last the weather's warmed up, the frosts have gone and things have started to grow up, so it's about time to plant stuff out I think now. But I'll just give you a quick look at how things have progressed in the last 10 days, and you can see they've grown really well because it's warmed up. This is the Brassicas. They've got 4 sets of leaves on now, so they're perfect to go out. The banana shallots are growing well. They've grown more in the last sort of week than they have in the last 6 weeks. And they're not quite ready to go out, the red cabbage yet. I'll give those another week, but the lettuce can certainly go out now. I prefer to plant them out when they're quite small so they don't get pot bound, and then they should grow away well. So we'll get up to the plot, get a few bits and pieces planted. I've got some French beans on the go and stuff like that. These are the potatoes, still no flowers on yet, but they've grown really well, so it shouldn't be too long until we pull a pot of those up and see what we've got. I've just planted a couple of tomatoes. I'm not doing many tomatoes this year because I've been growing a load of the giant ones and I can eat all the rejects from there. And a cucumber. So like I said, we'll get up to the plot and I'll have a look at stuff and we'll get stuff planted out. Finally, the third attempt at growing peas this year's finally paid off after sowing them in the barrel, in the gutters a month ago and having a complete blank because I've used old seed, and then had a second go in modules with the same seed. Bought another packet of seeds, fresh seed, and as you can see, nearly 100% germination. But the trouble is I've done them in tiny little modules, which will mean pulling each little tiny one out and transplanting it. But anyway, we'll see how we get on with those. Well, hi folks, finally time to plant some stuff out because the weather's warmed up, frosts have all gone, so it's time to get it done. So I'm going to start off with my cabbages. These are some mini savoys, which actually grow on to be big savoys as well, savoy cabbages. So I'm just going to plant 2 rows of these, just 4 in each row, so 8 in total, so I can fit them under my protective cloche thing. So I'll show you how we plant these. It couldn't be easier. The thing with cabbages is, if you see, they're the seed leaves, you can plant straight right up to the seed leaves, so you can bury the stalk up to the seed leaves, and that helps to anchor it as well. So it couldn't be easier. Just see if I'm in shot. Just going to dig a hole, plonk it in, backfill it up to that point. The thing with cabbages and brassicas, you want to really firm the soil in. Make sure it's really firm soil because they don't like loose soil. It tends to make them blow or not form good hearts. So give it a good old firming in. So like I said, I'm only growing 8 of these, which is plenty because they are massive, and one of them will last you about 4 meals because they can get. I grew some last year, and some of them were nearly £10. These mini savoys, but once you leave them to grow big, they do get big, and they do take a lot of room up the cabbages. So I don't want to just waste all my space on not the world's most exciting vegetable. Let's face it. So again, just firming them in really well. Placing these about 16 inches apart and 18-20 inches apart in the row. So they will probably touch in the middle, but like I said, I'm not going to give them 2 foot each way because I've not got that much space, and I'm not wasting my space on a brassica. I've got some red cabbages to put in and some kale as well. It's all done exactly the same way, so I won't bore you to tears with that. It's all the same. Just a matter of, like I said, planting it up to the bottom of the first true leaves and then giving it a good old firming in and give it a good watering in, and then just leave it be and cover it up. Try and keep the cabbage white butterflies away, and then try and keep the slugs away with whatever choice of slug deterrent you choose. So I'll try and roll my little protective cloche over them now. It's the most jerry-built thing I've ever made, this. It's just one I just quickly knocked up, but it'll do the job. As long as it keeps the butterflies off, and the pigeons and the pheasants, that'll do. So that's 8 of those done. We'll plant some peas now, which should be very tedious indeed. Right then folks, I'm going to plant the peas out now. If you remember, I had a disaster this year with peas. I sowed a load in gutters early April, none of them, well, about 1% germinated, and I sowed another lot about 2 weeks later in bigger modules and about 1% germinated. And then the penny dropped, the seed must be dead. So then I bought some new seed, sowed these about just over a week ago, and they've come up nearly 100%. But now I'm thinking of it, it's going to be a bit of a pain up the backside planting 120 single pea plants out. So we'll give it a go and see what's the best approach, because I've never done it like this, and I won't do it again because I'll just make sure I get decent seed. So I'll try and get some of these out. I don't know whether you can see. If they come out in one plug, it should be a bit easier. And they don't seem to want to. The odd one has. No. The odd one. So I think I'm going to have to be a bit brutal and see if I can just drop them all out and hopefully not snap all the leaves off. So we'll see how they get on. I think they're quite tough. Well, they're going to have to be. I'm not spending all night. Yeah, they'll be right. Come out, come on. Yeah. It's easy than doing it one at a time. Right, rough and ready, who cares? Not damaged, still got little plugs out like that. So I think it's just going to be a matter of, there's 120, it's a 10-foot row, which is 120 inches. So now I've got to plant each one of these an inch apart. So there you go. I won't do 120, I might do 5. And then I'll show you what they look like when they're finished. This would be the most boring video of all time. So all I'm doing is, like as you can see, just plonking them in, covering them up with soil, give them a water in, and then we should be right. So I'll get on and do that and show you what it looks like when I've done. Oh, well, that's that tedious job done, folks. Took me about 20 minutes. So I've got 120 or so peas planted now. As a note to self, do not do it this way in future. Do it in the gutter method, but make sure you've got some fresh peas, because doing it one at a time like that's done me head in. So I'm going to put this mouse protection over the top for a while now. Just some mesh, about 8mm mesh, so the mice can't get through. I'll cover the peas up with that, so they can't nip in and pinch the peas that are still under the ground, attached to the plant. Right then, folks, we'll go plant a few French beans and lettuces out now, I think. Right, folks, here we are. I'm at polytunnel now. So I'm going to plant my climbing beans out, my French beans, and then stick a few lettuces inside and put the rest outside. So if anything happens to them outside, I'll still have some inside. So these are my French beans, climbing ones. They're called Cobra. They're the most prolific bean I've ever grown in my life, especially if you grow them indoors. And you can get them nearly £5 or £6 off each plant. That's why I only grow about, first time I ever grew them, I grew about a row of 20, and I just got buckets full of beans every single day in summer. So now just 6 will do. 6 is absolutely fine. I only sowed these about 3 days ago, so just to make sure they've come up, the first true leaves have just emerged, so that's fine. Just plant them out in the soil now that it's warmed up. Simple as that. No, nothing fancy. I like to get things planted out early rather than letting them get too big in the pots, because they always tend to suffer if things become root bound. So as soon as they're manageable, get them stuck in if the weather's warm enough. Like I said, couldn't be easier. French beans, if you're going to grow them, like I said, climbing variety, there's loads of people have tried them and everyone sort of raves about them because they are such a wonderful variety, and they're a heavy cropper. They crop for a long time, right through summer. If you can keep them sort of training them, I can train the leaves across and over and everything, and they just keep growing and producing beans all, you know, sometimes nearly into autumn. So give them a go. They're called Cobra and you won't be disappointed. So anyway, it's good to get a bit of stuff planted out at last. It's been the longest, dullest winter and then the coldest spring we've had for years, so it's just nice to get a bit of something in the soil. So like I say, I'm going to plant a few lettuces out in a minute. I've got 12 little gem cos and 12 multi-green, red and green mixed ones. So that's the beans in. I'll just give those a watering in sometime or other. And the lettuces, like I said, these are just going to be taken small before the ones outside are ready. So I'll plant half of these. Ooh, here. They're the multi-green. I like a curly, frilly lettuce, really good. And everyone sort of seems to grow these little gem, little cos lettuce. perhaps a little bit on the small side, but it doesn't matter, seeing as they're in the polytunnel, because they won't have any wind or anything to get blown about. Might be different outside. If we get some windy weather, they might get rocked about and snap off, but we'll have to wait and see. So again, couldn't be easy. I'm only planting these about 9 inches apart, these cost lettuce, because they're a compact little plant. No need to give them lots and lots of distance. So I'll alternate them, sorry. Like I said, these are called multigreen. They're like a curly, crispy, very nice lettuce with sort of loose leaves, but you can, if you cut the bottom off, all the leaves fall off, so you don't need to faff about pulling the leaves off. They just, like I said, once you harvest them, you just get a bag full of leaves, and they're cracking. So that's it. I'm going to put 12 in here and 12 outside, and then once it's all done, I'll just give you a final little have a look round things, and then we'll see what everything looks like outside when it's all planted out. Well, hi folks, that's the last bit of the stuff planted out now. That's my kale. I put it under a little bit of protection, although kale doesn't seem to be that bothered by cabbage whites as much as cabbages and things like that. So anyway, that's the kale done. 6 plants, that's more than enough. That'll supply me all winter hopefully. So inside the polytunnel, managed to get 10 of the lettuces planted out, 6 of the French beans, a few spare bits and pieces. So I'll just give one last look outside, and then that should be about it. I'll do a roundup of everything else next week, but just show you what I planted tonight. So that's it all, folks. That's my peas planted out. Won't be doing them that way again. Cabbages, 8 savoys, 5 red ones. The lettuces, I've only put the lettuce under this bit of windbreak, well, basically just for a windbreak really, because it's supposed to get windy, and I've got one knocking about spare. And then finally got the big reject giant onions planted out. But at long last we've got stuff planted out, so I'll do a roundup next week of everything and just see how things are progressing. So that's about it folks, stuff's been planted at last. See you later.